morning, everyone. So you've already met our panelists. Kathryn, do you say Cairn or Cairn?
Just Cairn.
Cairn's fine, okay. And Shelley, so thank you guys for being here. One thing that all four of us on this panel have in common is that we're all participants in the Artworks program. For those of you who don't know exactly about that, it's a unique opportunity to bring art into the public realm with a focus on cultivating work environments that enhance the lives of staff and clients. And I really can vouch for the fact that it does that. In its most simple iteration, Artworks installs rotating art exhibits in business, nonprofit, and university locations over the course of a year, quarterly rotations. So every 3 months we get a new set of art. Someone on our staff already bought one before it went away. So that's great. The program features about 30 local artists in the 100+ exhibits that are installed in 21 different locations. And the artists receive a stipend, of course, for participating. And the work on exhibit, as I said, is available for purchase. I'm sure some has been sold in your organizations as well. So that's a great thing. The other thing that goes on here, Shelley, you work at Choice, right? So Choice funds the Art for All grants, and the Art for All grants are available to health and human services nonprofits that do not have an arts-related mission but wish to incorporate the arts into their mission-based work. Those grants grow and cultivate community through the arts by investing in health and human service organizations that will use arts to make a valuable and significant commitment to an impact on their communities, particularly underserved populations. Past grantees include Soul Solutions, not Soil Solutions. That's a different part of NDSU. Soul Solutions Recovery Center, Lake Agassiz Habitat for Humanity, Indigenous Legacy, and the BioGroup. So, let's start with Kathryn. You have the business school, right? So you see students all the time, and obviously you're an Artworks participant. What's the feeling you get from your students when you start talking about the arts? Do your instructors discuss the arts and integrate it into the curriculum? Do your students notice the Artworks program around them?
Thanks for the question, Charlie. Good morning, welcome. First, let me say welcome to Berry Hall. We are located, the NDSU College of Business is located here in Berry Hall, so we're excited to have you on campus today. We're excited to have you in our space. As Charlie said, I am the Ronald and Kay Olson Endowed Dean here at the College of Business, and one of the key components of our College of Business, and one of the reasons that we like our location here in Berry Hall, is because of this downtown atmosphere. So we want to be downtown. We want our College of Business to be downtown. We want to be integrated with the things that are happening down here and the other buildings that are at the downtown campus here of NDSU. Our Artworks program is in the Dean Suite, which is where our academic advisors are located. And so actually all of our students come in to see their advisor at least once a semester, which means all of our students pass through the area that has Artworks in it at least once a semester. And so the fact that it rotates is fantastic, because it means usually when they come in, there's something different each time they're in. So they're able to see what's on display there. Tanya and I'm just new to NDSU and new to campus. I've been here a year now, but we met and talked about how to integrate the arts into the study of business and how to connect those, how to make those connections. One of the things that I think is important and to highlight is the atmosphere that's created with the arts partnership, with the Art for All, with the Artworks, with being able to be downtown. Creates a sense of place for our students, creates a desire to be here that we know is beneficial for our students, that we know contributes to their quality of life, that we know actually contributes to their desire to stay in the area after graduation. So our goal really is to educate students and to help with workforce development and to have students take jobs in the Fargo metro area. And the reason they do that is because they want to live here. And the reason they want to live here is because they have access to the arts and the things that they can see around. So the life that they have available here that they can see right here in downtown Fargo, that they're connected to, that's easy to get to, really facilitates that sense of place.
Okay, thank you. I'd like both Cairn and Shelley to talk a little bit about why you value the Artworks program or your commitment to the arts community in general. So we'll start with you, Shelley, and we'll go back to Cairn.
Sure. So Choice has been doing Artworks for several years, and it was kind of our first dabble into partnering with the Arts Partnership and seeing the value that it would bring to both our business and our employees. It seemed like a natural fit for us because it was a facilities cost, and on our walls was either nothing or artworks from like a Hobby Lobby, right, that are like mass manufactured. And it was such a no-brainer for us to bring that in and say, okay, well, we can rotate local artworks, and we have them in 4 of our locations now. It actually it encouraged us as we started to grow to work with the Arts Partnership to create a custom sculpture in our Moorhead location that sits upon our mantle. And we have another custom piece of artwork in our new Fargo remodeled location that's moss. And it's just to hear the comments of our team members as those artworks switch out. Not everyone might like what they see, but it creates dialogue and it creates camaraderie and water cooler conversations, and it really enriches the locations that we have. And we do get the comments from our customers too. Not everybody goes into a bank anymore. Not something that is very common anymore, but those that do also appreciate it.
Karen?
Well, I'm Cairn. Good morning, and you might be wondering why I am a board member and here as a manufacturer. If you aren't familiar with Marvin, we make windows and doors as well as fiberglass and do our own trucking. So very art away, very far away, not the same. And so very similar story to Shelley, actually. This Artworks was our first dabble in. We were building a brand new facility, and it started becoming a conversation of, okay, what are we gonna throw on these blank walls? We're just gonna have our purpose and values 50 times over and over and over. And so we started thinking through, and knowing that being a family-owned business, they really support the community and understand the culture and value and wanting to make people come to work and smile when they come to work. And so we piloted it, and I would say within one facility, I think I had 4. I called Tanya and I said, I hope you know what you did. You know, they're ready to go. I will say many conversations, hey, this is what this looks like. They get curious when Christina walks in the door. They all start having to take breaks or going to the bathroom and what's going on? And I will say my favorite story was the dinosaurs. We got dinosaurs for the first ever installation in our truck driving unit. So they came in on Monday morning because we did it late on a Friday in the summer, and I was prepared for reactions, and it was just giggles. I mean, grown men that are truck drivers just laughing because here are these dinosaurs on the wall. Of course, they swap out every quarter, and now they're super engaged in the program, and again, excited to see what's in the facility when they go in. So we were able to kind of build that very similarly around the excitement. Yeah, art is so very important, and I can go on and on about why, as a manufacturer, we are involved, but I'll turn it back to you, Charlie, because I'm sure you've got questions.
We'll give you a chance to go on and on. Like, we have kind of a similar story for our involvement in Artworks. We refreshed our building almost 2 years ago now. We got all done with new paint on the walls, new carpet, everything looked nice and clean, and we're like, are we gonna hang all that crap back up on the wall? And, you know, with old photo, you know, tributes to Fargo, which is great, but, you know, been there for years. So that's when we ended up contacting Tanya, getting involved in the program, and it's great to have, you're right, it's subjective, but it creates a lot of discussion. Every new installation, every picture creates discussion around it, and it's fun to see what everybody thinks of each particular unit. So, do you feel that business in general, I mean, you guys, you know, obviously you like the arts. The 3 of you like the arts. Everyone in this room likes the arts. How do you feel about the business community in general? Do you feel like the business, you must talk about this with your colleagues, other banks, other manufacturing places. What kind of response do you get when you tell them to spend money to bring art into your building where you manufacture windows or hand out loans?
Go ahead. Well, on the most basic level, I think similar to what you said, it's a facility cost. So sometimes I have to talk to them as their numbers and operations, right? That's their bread and butter every day. And I wish I could have I wish I could say it was a plant. I wanted to slide him $5 when he said it, but my accounting team was processing for our pilot, and he said, "Oh, it's the same as when we clean our rugs. Every time we have to clean the salt off our rugs, that's the same price. It's the same." And all of a sudden, this light bulb went off of, oh, it's the same price as the rug. It's just the cost of having a facility, having a building. I would say there were a lot of questionable looks and glances when I first proposed the program and brought it up. I think there is a lot of questions and hesitancy, and I think at least my population sometimes feels disengaged unless they have children that are directly involved, unless they have a personal passion. A lot of the folks that I have coming through my doors don't regularly engage with the arts. They don't know how to seek it out. They don't have direct ties to it. And similar to your students, this is how I get them excited about the community, excited about coming in. So pitching that and kind of just socializing the idea has gone and done a world of difference. And I would say now I have art advocates at the leadership table. But I will say it's been 2+ years of bringing this up as constant conversation. And we need to feed people, we need to house people, we need to focus on all these things, but if they're not happy in their day-to-day life, what's the point? And art plays a piece of that.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, I mean, it is finding funding that's not out of your donations budget, because everybody thinks about a lot of nonprofits, that's where the money comes from the business sector. However, the creative pulling from the facilities, or in the banking industry, there's the CRA, which is a Community Reinvestment Act. It's money that's supposed to go to low to moderate income nonprofits and people and organizations. And so being able to find ways to creatively give and make these things happen. My leadership team asks for our employees' feedback before we renew every year. And it's important that we hear not just from me, our advocate, but the rest of the employees in our location, if it's something they value. If we took artworks off the wall, I don't know what would go there. I mean, we would have to, my argument is, well, then we'd have to purchase something to put on the walls. We can't just have blank walls. And so that's where.
And I think obviously this group would agree it's better to have work from local artists who and might meet on the street or see at the restaurant than to buy something off Wayfair that you don't know where it came from and it's a mass-produced thing. Nothing against, I'm sure the original art was great, but dealing with your local artists, of course, is a far more suitable thing. That's kind of the way.
And if I can plug it, another misconception is it's affordable. I think there's a lot of fear and intimidation in this idea of purchasing original artwork, even for your own home. And so I think that's also been something fun about the artworks is we've had some pieces where someone falls in love and they see the price tag and they're like, ooh, not for me. But then we've had others where they go and they're like, oh my gosh, $50, heck yeah, this is coming to my house. And so just, again, exposing and kind of debunking myths. So.
Well, yeah, and that's a myth that persists for all artists, whether it's, visual artists, performing artists, musical artists, which you should want to let us hang that painting here for free because it's going to give you such great exposure, right? You ladies should come and play your flutes for free because it's going to give us great exposure. You're going to get a lot of business out of it, right? We're not going to pay you, but think of we're paying you an exposure. That's too long gone in the community. People need to understand that art is worth something to them. Absolutely.
Charley mentioned that the artists get stipends.
Oh, well, we did. I read that, but I'll remind you again that the artists in the Artworks program do get a portion of the fee that we pay. Correct? Yes. Yeah. Tanya wanted to make sure that hits home. Of course, that's one of the primary reasons we like the program. I might not have liked it that much if it was all going to you, Tanya. I think the split is fair. There's one question I want to sneak in for Kathryn before we run out of time, and this is maybe a little off the wall. I think I previewed it for you a little bit here. In the world of education these days, we see a lot of discussion of steering students toward vocational or technical education rather than the four-year degree, what I used to think of as the liberal arts degree, Concordia College, right? Great liberal arts school. Liberal arts, I think it's great, but a lot of people now are being steered away from that into vocational education. Are we losing something, or is there some way we can incorporate the arts into those curricula as well?
Thanks for the question, I appreciate it. You're right, there is a focus on workforce and a, let's say, more direct path to what that job looks like after education than perhaps maybe any of us took as our original path. But that conversation does not exclude including the arts in that conversation. And one of the things that we at the university and at many universities, at Concordia, at lots of universities, talk about and think about is the development of the person as they are here for that, whatever major it happens to be. So for whatever career you'd like to go into, you still have to develop as a person before you leave to do that. And the skills that you need to be able to do that, we're not recording this, are not all taught in my building. So that...
Did you get that down?
Nobody will. So that exposing students and helping them to grow into a professional person includes a well-rounded experience that is not taught exclusively in the classroom. We know that for years because we've told students they need to be in student activities and they need to take leadership roles and they need to have all these experiences. Those should encompass things that are related to the arts as well. I have a colleague at the University of Nebraska that started a program last year, and we all thought she was a little bit crazy at first. She teaches accounting, and she runs their accounting program, and she brought in one of their improvisational theater professors to work with her accounting students. And the reason for that was to foster, partly the ability to have conversations, but the ability to think on their feet, the ability to have a conversation that did not necessarily have a logical step from A to B to C to D, but eventually got from A to D. And so what did that look like? And really develop a little bit more confidence in their ability to convey the stuff that they were working on to someone who doesn't know accounting. And so, yes, workforce development is very important, and developing new leaders in the workforce, new business students, new engineers, new plant scientists, those things are very important, and we want to keep doing that. But the plant scientists also have to be able to talk to the accountants, and the accountants also have to be able to talk to the engineers, and they all have to be able to laugh at the same joke or attend a theater production and all have the same tears streaming down their face. So that well-roundedness is very important, and actually us in the College of Business are finding from our employers, they're telling us these things. We would like students to have some interpersonal, personal development skills before they come to us. And I will say that's where they, in their art world and in their creativity, that's where they learn a lot of that. They learn how to solve problems in a way that they hadn't thought before. They learn how to meet a deadline. If you've ever been in a theater production, you know that there are immovable deadlines. Because it turns out you're gonna go whether things are ready or not, so you better be ready enough, right? And that is, for a lot of our students, especially in some of those more, let's say, analytical fields, we don't go if we're not ready. Turns out you're gonna go whether we're ready or not, and that feeling is important. And so talking to our employers about how to highlight that the participation in the arts and the connection to the arts has some really transferable skills, even if it didn't look like that at the beginning, is really important, I think. So I don't want to exclude arts. I think arts is a very important part of that, and it's really our job at the university or even the technical schools to develop that whole person and to facilitate that growth during the time that they're here.
That's really great, because I think, not just for the arts, but just to become a well-rounded, intelligent human being who understands what happens in the world and the country and the city where they live, makes them a much better citizen down the road. I noticed I don't know if you did this on purpose, you never uttered the phrase critical thinking, but I think it's become a buzzword in some ways of negative sorts, but it's vitally important, and I think the arts really help with that. Obviously, you agree.
Indeed.
Okay. Okay, so other reasons why art and business should work together. We've kind of covered a lot of different things, but what's your favorite thing about your engagement with the arts from a business standpoint, Cairn?
So I would say from a business standpoint, tied to workforce, we spend so much time. We have 20 plus dedicated employees just in Fargo focused on what is this person's experience the 40 hours they're under a roof. So we focus so intentionally on training our employees, upskilling them, promoting them, making sure they've got good food in the break rooms, that they've got good parking. Like, we spend so much time taking care of that 40 hours. And yes, that is where their bulk of their life might be spent, but they are a whole person. They leave our doors and become community members. And that's something that we have to hone in on, that we can kill it here, but that's not what's keeping them in Fargo. That's not, I was talking to someone earlier, that's not why they choose to stay here and have their life here. It's everything outside of those 40 hours. And so I might not be able to sit with you and help your organizations or help with the plays, but how can our business support that? Can we help sell tickets? Can we help promote to our employees? Can we make a donation? How do we become good citizens as a business?
It's a workforce issue, isn't it?
That's what I would argue, and to your point, that is the key. That's one of the buzzwords in North Dakota, in the US right now, right? Everyone says workforce is an issue, retention's an issue, recruitment's an issue, and I would argue 100% that culture is at the middle, and culture is synonymous with art. So I'll get off my soapbox.
We're on that soapbox. Shelley, anything you want to add?
Well, I'm gonna go back a little bit to what you said, like, why do we, and maybe it's personal and partially on behalf of Choice Bank, but, and to culture, leaning on that a little bit, I work for an organization that is people first. They really empower our employees to make decisions. That's why I was able to bring artworks and help bring artworks to our organization, and also to fund the Art for All grant program. And it's because of my passion, I'm supported by those things, and I get to give that back to the community and the larger organization as a whole. There's so many interconnections between what we do in the art world and what we're passionate about, and everything that we touch in our community. One of those connections is, you mentioned Bio Girls. So they were a grant recipient for the Art for All program. Bio Girls had their first art-focused curriculum that they launched this last year. And for the first time, when they opened up signing up, now Bio Girls supports adolescent girls and self-esteem issues, it sold out so fast that they had to ask another group to transition to an arts-focused programming because they didn't have enough room for all the girls. I think that speaks volumes from young children in our community all the way up to retirees. So, yeah.
Nice.
My soapbox.
So, this is why you're up here. This is, it's okay. It's a fully understandable soapbox. So let's talk about funding a little bit. Tanya, is the Arts Partnership funded as well as it should be? Are the arts in this community funded as well as they should be? Short answer.
No.
Okay.
I mean, is there anybody here who feels overfunded?
Well, okay. So, and that's a problem. It's a problem for every organization. I'm a volunteer for the United Way. There are all sorts of different organizations, Dakota Medical Foundation, individual groups, always soliciting for funds. Everybody needs money. Every nonprofit needs money. Every charitable institution needs money. There are needs, social needs in the community that need to be met, and everyone's looking for donations to help with that, because there never seems to be enough government money for that kind of thing. So how do you tell businesses that paltry little amount they're giving, I'm making this up because I'm not thinking of any particular business, that paltry little amount or no amount that they happen to fund the arts from now because they think they have too many other things to do, how do you convince them that the arts are that important to them? I mean, you've all kind of danced around it, but what's your elevator pitch if you go to, so Shelley, if you go to another bank and you're in an elevator with them and they say, why do you spend all that money on art? Give us your, 1 minute elevator speech. It's a slow elevator.
It's how it makes you feel. I mean, that's even going back to wanting your students to be well-rounded. I mean, it invokes emotion, and you're attracted to it or not attracted to it. It makes you angry or happy or sad, all of the things, and those experiences, any experience that you've had in life, you think about at the core of it, what was it? Was it, you're building community around this art, whether you're enjoying it together or eating it together or listening to it together. Art's important, and it's hard to sell something that's kind of intangible in a way, but yeah, art is so important to who we are as humans.
Cairn?
This is a hard one, because I think my elevator speech, at least the last 3 years at Marvin, has been leading by example. So getting the question of why are you here? Why did you make that? And it doesn't happen just from the art organizations that I have the privilege of reaching out to and saying, hey, I want to give you money. But it's also by my counterparts. It's by our dealer customers who swing by. It's by the vendors. And so that leading by example has really been where I've been at. I think I need to work on my elevator pitch now that we have kind of hit that. But I think I would lean very close to Shelley of all the best moments, all the reasons I've chosen to be here tie back to art. And I would make an argument that your employees would 100% agree with that. And if we're listening to our employees like we say we are, then art needs to be in your well-funded and well-rounded philanthropic portfolio.
Kathryn, so you're not a business person, but you speak to a lot of business entities, of course, for all sorts of reasons, trying to attract students, trying to get investments into college. But if you were to happen to think in terms of, for 30 seconds out of my speech to these people, rather than just recruiting students or asking for equipment, I don't know what you ask for, but whatever, you know what I'm saying, for academic things, how would you throw in there a message that it's important to also consider the arts from your profits?
She said she wasn't gonna have a very good answer, and then she had a really good answer, and now I have to go after her. One of the things so there's a couple of parts of my job that are big and sort of squishy and intangible. One of them is student retention. So how do I keep students here? And once they've come, how do I recruit them to Fargo, and then how do I keep them here? And retention is a little bit squishy, and it has a lot of touchy-feely components. I'm an economist by training, so this is very, economists measure things. That's what I do, is I measure things, right? But we're also very good at understanding that there are things we can't measure and that we shouldn't compare across people. And so then we just put them in the whole big category of other things. But those components of retention that are important, that keep students here, are a feeling of community, a feeling of connection, ability to see themselves on campus and in other people, and ability to make friends that do like the same things they like, the ability to experience new things that they've never seen before or done before. I can't unilaterally, the university cannot, no business can fulfill all of those parts to keep the students here. And so the arts they have a really big part to play in keeping students here. The other part that I deal with is workforce retention and sending students out to employers, and students will tell me that the employers that they want to go to are the ones where they feel welcome and that they like the culture of that company, and that they feel they can make a difference, and they feel that someone cares about them as a whole person, not just as a worker. And so talking to companies about how do you recruit students, how do you convince students that they want to work for you, it's that you tell them that you care about them as a whole person, not as just an employee. And so how do you reflect that? Well, you have artworks on the walls, or you support the community theater, or you have days where you allow your employees to do volunteer hours, or you encourage them to be on a board. So those parts of the life of employees are really important, and that's not a hard ask for companies to do, to be able to create a culture where people want to stay.
I think, it's just swimming in my brain right now, so it might be hard to articulate it, but what comes to mind in arts in all form, right? And Mary and I, my wife and I, recently saw the last performance that will ever be, apparently, with Straw Hat Players at Minnesota State University in Moorhead. The last couple of years, it's been a combined community college thing, but now apparently they can't even keep that going. So I think it would be great, wouldn't it? I understand that universities have budgets and they have to cut these, they have to make hard decisions, especially state universities have to make hard decisions. But I think sometimes they're short-sighted in what they decide they should do away with. But at the same time, I would also hope that there were some corporations that might consider the fact that if you really want that program to keep going, the funding isn't that great. You know, I think to keep a program like that going, at least at some level, maybe not the level it was before. How do we communicate that to businesses and say your philanthropy could actually keep this going if the tax dollars can't? Open-ended question. Any of you can come after me.
I was trying to figure out if that was directed at me or if that was for everybody. I think we have a very productive NDSU foundation that does part of that, and they support those efforts. I do think conversations about how efficient universities are really helpful for many corporations, because it turns out we're pretty lean. We're able to do a lot of things with not very much funding, like all of you. And so the efficiency of that, I think, is something that can play to some of those corporations as well. Measuring things, measuring number of students, measuring, I don't want to distill the value of the arts down to what is produced, because I don't think that that's how we measure the value of that, but I do think that's one way in which we can sell or convince support for it.
I'll say, and you can speak more to the bank side, there are a lot of changes occurring in corporate approaches to philanthropy, and I think there's an opportunity to tell a really unique story of the value and why this is the thing. My counterparts and I are kind of constantly pushed and struggled, and I wish I had an endless philanthropic budget, so I would argue we're a little lean on that side too. I get the privilege of giving good news, but it's not as often as I wish it was. But I think many years ago, we moved into this very rigid structure of, we were given, okay, we want to impact food, housing, insecurity, we want people to have great education. That's really awesome and great causes, but some took it so niche and so far that then I think it limits the impact that they're able to have. And so I was thinking this morning, I think I'm a little optimistic this morning. I woke up on the right side of the bed. And I think it's happening. I think it's also happening as we see the generations in the workforce change. I think the younger workforce will challenge a lot of those. And so I think we're seeing a lot of reactions on the corporate side of how their foundations are set up, how they're appropriating funds. So I'm optimistic that there will be clear paths and more funding opening up. I wish I had a crystal ball and could say, hey, that's going to be in 2 years, hey, that's going to be in 10 years. But I know you've got some interesting side with the banking world. So.
I want to just, and I'm going to come off of the foundation piece and just go right into the donation and the funding. And so I think we've seen a shift where larger corporations are becoming more strategic in who they're donating to, because they want that visibility of being a community partner, and so they get to say like, oh, we donate $50,000 to yada yada organization. And I think you bring up a really good point, Karen, that employees' voices matter a lot when it comes to giving, and I think the only reason why probably Choice continues to give to the Arts Partnership is because we have employees that care about it, and the funding has to come from employees. It has to come from someone saying, I love the Straw Hat Players and I want to see them continue. What can we do? And we have to make the difference. It has to be grassroots. It has to start small. I think maybe it'll come from small business. I don't know. I mean, I see that shift, and I know we've seen it with the larger businesses in the community where they are dwindling down their $5,000, $2,500 donations and putting that all into a bigger pocket. It's not that they're giving less, I think they're just giving to other places to make a more strategic decision on that might benefit them. So we have employees have to be empowered, and I fortunately work for an organization that does do that, and they do allocate donation dollars for the local communities, but it has to be from the voices of our employees. We just don't, I mean, if we gave to everyone that came to us, we wouldn't have anything left for the Arts Partnership.
Well, I'll safely say we'd be out of money in a month.
Yeah, that too. So build connections, I guess. Build connections to people. Relationships matter. Get people passionate about it. The money will come, and that's part of the giving piece.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, ladies. We appreciate you being here with us. I know Tanya wants to move on with her program. It's great of you to spend time with us, and thank you for your commitment to the Arts Partnership and the arts in general. Let's have a big hand for our